Ever heard the phrase, you are what you eat? Good nutrition and a balanced diet play a significant role to your mental and physical health. Eating well is a fundamental factor to empowering ourselves. Did you know that unhealthy diet in the United States contributes to 678,000 deaths every year? This is due to nutrition and obesity-related diseases, such as heart disease, cancer, and type 2 diabetes. In the last 30 years, obesity rates has doubled in adults, tripled in children, and quadrupled in adolescents. Today we have with us Doreen Kasubi, who will be answering all our pressing questions on health and nutrition for you and your family. With Ramadan right around the corner, while we have to keep in mind that this month is supposed to improve our overall health and help us detox, many of us are actually harming our bodies by eating such unhealthy meals. To fully benefit from fasting, a person should spare a great deal of thought to the quality and quantity of food they will indulge in throughout the month. Stay tuned for this fantastic program on health and nutrition and stay inspired. Doreen, thank you so much for being here with us today. I just want to know a little bit about you first. What got you into nutrition?
Thank you, Fatima, for inviting me. It's very thoughtful of you. Well, as a girl, I'd say I had a passion for science subjects when I was in school. And unfortunately, I didn't pick up my chemistry classes by Form 3 level, so I had to carry on with the biochemistry subjects. That included chemistry, biology, and nutrition as well during my O level. And I passed very well in science, and that qualified me to higher level of subjects of science as well. So in my A level, I went for CBN, which also qualified me for the undergraduate level of applications for the nutrition studies as well. So I went for my undergraduate studies in Osmania University in India, Hyderabad. I stayed there for 3 years doing my biochemistry subjects in zoology, chemistry, and biology. That's the animal biology, and nutrition and food technology.
That's fantastic. I'm glad you're here because I think, just like the viewers, you know, I have so many questions to do with nutrition, and now that Ramadan is coming up, you know, I want to know as much as I can about nutrition and diet during Ramadan. So what is the best diet?
I would say the best diet is a balanced diet. Specifically, the way we explain a balanced diet is a diet that is suitable for everyone. But it could be broken down into a definition of, as well as it's in respect with the age group, activity, sex, or gender rather, you would say, and specifically the physical activity one engages in at a specific time of age.
So it's true, because I read somewhere that, you know, a diet that, you know, a teenager or an athlete is having is not the same as a 50-year-old man or a woman. So it's different for everybody, right?
Yes. Reflecting back to what I just said, like a balanced diet specifically is a food group. I mean, all food groups are related in preparing a balanced diet. That means everybody at every stage of life requires everything at a particular amount. So when it comes to the specifications of the age, of the gender, the physical activities or physical activeness, it's rather of the nutrients percentage that you're going to clarify. You'd say an infant would not eat as much as an athlete do, or as much as an old person does, as much as a pregnant woman or lactating woman eats. So such kind of variations are the ones which brings the classifications of a balanced diet. But in a proper manner, we say everybody has to eat a balanced diet.
Okay, with regards to carbs, you know, when somebody's trying to lose weight, the first thing they cut down is, and cut down is fine, but the first thing that they sort of stop eating completely is carbohydrates. What's your thought process about that?
Okay, as I say, the good diet is a balanced diet. That means at every particular time, a person needs energy, a person needs proteins, a person needs vitamin, you need your minerals, and even when you're losing weight, it doesn't restrict you from having your carbohydrates intake, because even carbohydrates are classified. And actually, at any particular adult age, we say each adult requires not less than 50 to 65% of energy from the calories should come from carbohydrates. So it's not like carbohydrates are enemies, they're not, but there are specific types of carbs which are friendly to use in the body or in a frequent manner that would not
Can you give like a few examples?
Exactly. So when you speak of the classification, we'd rather say mostly the carbohydrates which are high in fiber that come from plants, but they are not refined. Like would have the brown bread, brown flour, that's the atta. You'd speak of fruits and vegetables. These are the kind of carbohydrates we are reflecting at because they have a higher percentage of fiber. They have a reluctant amount of maybe the body can refrain from the rapid release of sugar that comes from this amount of food. But this specifically does not give you the audacity to eat this food in large amount. You just have to eat at a specific portion. So we'd say it's not that carbohydrates is an enemy of body per se. Even when we're losing weight, you have to choose which types of carbs and which amount you need in respect to the quality or the need at that moment.
There's the same discussion going on about fat.
Yes.
Are all fats evil?
Yeah, it's true. We'd say it's good fat, bad fat. But scientifically, we say there are types of fats that they are not so friendly because when they're used in an adverse amount, they cause a lot of complications to the metabolism. They cause the chronic disorders, and these are actually the fats that comes from animals, and they are unsaturated fats. We term them biochemically. They are known as unsaturated fats because they have single bonds. And the friendly fats mostly are the unsaturated groups, which comes mostly from the plant origin. Some of the foods which are animal origin would be like cold water fish. You'd speak of some fruits and nuts and veggies will have sparingly amounts of these types of food. And when you speak of this in a specific manner, you might have heard of omega-3 fatty acids, omega-6 fatty acids, and would say these are the actual good types of fats that are actually recommended to eat in an adverse amount.
Speaking of fruits, you know, I think the idea is that a lot of people think that just because it's a fruit, that having fruit juices is very good for you, you know. Compared to, you know, is it better to eat the fruit itself or have the juice?
Okay, I'll want to put it this way. Mark this sentence. As in, there's no any good or bad food. But what makes food a friend or an enemy is the frequency of how you use it and how you make it. So like when you speak of fresh fruit, at a particular stage of life, one may fall ill. You might not be able to chew your fruit. Maybe the body you might have a reflux, let's say vomiting or losing of water, and you might not tolerate fruit. So probably at that particular time, or rehydration of the body when it's required during hot seasons, let's say, fruit juices are the best to have. It's not like they're the enemy. That's why I say you'd need to mark that sentence, right? Yeah, so it's not an enemy, but it depends how do you make the fruit juice. You make your fruit juice, dilute it halfway with water, you're diluting the nutrients. So now you're creating an enmity with the food because you're washing away the quality of the fruits by diluting the actual nutrients with water. And especially the vitamin C, vitamin B, which are freshly in raw foods, they cannot tolerate water. And the moment you add water, you lose the natural taste of the sugar in fruits, so you need to add an excess amount of sugar, so you're adding extra calories. So at the end, you're also adding extra calories. So we go back again, that's the way of creating an enmity because you're putting unnecessary calories. But trust me, if you take a fruit and blend it with a very small amount of water, you might not even need to add sugar, you might not need to add water in an adverse amount, and you get a perfect quality of fruit juice, which is very healthy. Now, when we speak again of maybe let's say another group, maybe let's say when you're making soups for vegetables, it's the same quality we're speaking about. When you boil them so much, the heat tends to destroy some of the vitamins. Some of the materials we use to cook, like blunt knives, can also make you lose some of the nutrients, especially vitamin C. Yeah, it's a very tricky method in cooking that we also have to be very sensitive with the types of utensils we use in the kitchen.
Sure. You know, but I think that's so interesting that you pointed out that sometimes people think that they're eating vegetables, but first of all, they're cooked, so overcooked.
And even washing, overwashing.
Sure. Overcooked and overwashed and, you know, full of oil that they actually don't help you in any way.
Yes.
So it's better to maybe half cook the vegetables and have them.
Normally we recommend minimum it's 2 to 5 minutes maximum of cooking vegetables.
Really?
Yes.
Oh wow, that's like really helpful to know. Okay. You know, I'm sure you have a lot of people who come to you with medical concerns. Just from a nutrition point of view, can you control blood pressure with food?
Yeah, it's something controllable.
Okay.
And I'm glad now we are getting back to the roots of nutrition. That's what I specialize in. I happen to have worked with as a clinical nutritionist. Okay. So that mostly reflects the management of ailments or diseases with diet. So what you're actually speaking is something very workable. Most of the non-communicable diseases, would put it that way, apart from high blood sugar levels, high blood pressure, let's speak of cholesterol levels, speak of maybe some diabetes, maybe kidney dysfunctioning, liver dysfunctioning, all these organ diseases which are coming as an retro-metabolic syndromes and something which comes out of an eating habit, they can be controlled by diet.
Really?
Yes. Okay. So when you're speaking of the high blood pressure, it's because the percentage of fat is it's higher in the blood, and actually the blood clotting is obstructed due to the blood circulation. Sorry, is being obstructed due to the blood vessels being thickening with the fat amount which has been deposited from the food which someone has eaten. And probably this is the type of animal fat that we say it's the bad fat, where when there is excess of it and it's not burnt due to physical inactiveness, it starts being deposited around the body organs as much as the blood vessels and the heart and everywhere it can deposit itself. And most probably even along the waistline. So you could also see this. So one way we would say maybe a person having a big belly is not very worth it, because it's one of the syndromes that you're on a danger zone of having maybe a high blood pressure. It could be diabetes, it could be obesity, it could be any of those.
Wow. Okay. I want to talk a little bit about breakfast. You know, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Okay. A lot of parents give their kids, let's say, you know, Frosties or cereal, or a lot of people think that there are certain foods that are actually very bad for you, you know, that you eat during breakfast. What are some examples of foods that are good, that will give you energy throughout the day, that you can eat during breakfast?
Okay. You speak of breakfast as a very important meal of the day, because it's the time you wake up, the time you start your day, and would say it's the most refreshing part of the meal, which keeps you energetic throughout the day. So having cereals is the best option, because you need energy, you need to keep yourself on the cycle of a go, so you need something to energize you throughout the day. You need probably you can need something that boosts your brain or keeps you very active. So cereal is not a bad idea, because when you speak of cereals and whole grain cereals, again we get vitamin B in it. So vitamin B is a metabolism stimulating vitamin. So if you have a whole grain cereal in the morning, it's not a bad idea. It's very good. But we say also it's on the other way around. Breakfast being the very important meal of the day, you need to have something which is worth it, and at that particular time, because you're going to get physically active at some point of the day, it's the meal that can actually help you burn the calories that you're having during the morning. So it's some you might have come across some phrases saying have a breakfast like a king. So the more you go through the day, you keep reducing. So it's actually very true, because you need more energy to keep you energetic throughout the day and keep reducing it as the time of the day goes down.
Right. Okay. No, I was just, what I was trying to get at is that a lot of times, a lot of the cereals that that you see on the shelves, they're so full of sugar, and they're all hidden, sugars. So it's actually, I get scared, because I've read up that it can be more detrimental to you if you have such high sugar cereals in the morning.
Okay, I'll help you by listing maybe a few sources of friendly cereals for breakfast. Okay. You can have muesli. That's a mixture of cereals. It could be oats, it could be some brands mixed together and some nuts in it. You could have the oats. Oats are high in fiber, they're friendly also, you can have that for breakfast. There's some wheat brands, you can have Weetabix for breakfast. I think also you can go as far as having some brown bread. You can go for brown scones, brown buns, any of that levels is okay for breakfast. Also, in case somebody wants to have porridge, also the whole grain maize meal porridge could be workable for morning. If at all you want something starchy and a bit very for a morning start, it's not a bad idea.
Okay. You know, for example, I'm one of those people, I like to eat throughout the day because I think I work such long hours that it just keeps me going. Other people prefer to have like huge meals, you know, 3 or 2 huge meals a day. I know some people who actually their entire diet, or you know, when they're trying to diet, what they do is they don't eat the whole day and then they just eat one huge meal. What is the right way to go?
The right way to go would be having frequent small meals as much as possible. You break them down. Because if you have one huge meal, that means you're overworking your body. And actually it retrieves something called metabolism is going to slow down. So when the metabolism goes slow, what happens, the metabolism tends to conserve more than to utilize. And actually this is one of the reasons most people who eat less times keep on gaining weight frequently and more and more and more. Because the body is tuned like we must conserve. What the body tells itself is like, we are always going on a starving mode, so we have to preserve more because there's going to be future hunger coming. And unfortunately you might find maybe because due to the routines, maybe you don't burn enough, so whatever is stored in a huge amount and there's never going to be room for it to be utilized, and extra will be stored the time you come to eat again, then extra and extra, then you find in a long run you have put on so much weight that is amazing. You cannot even control it.
How can you be more mindful when you're eating?
More mindful? In what sense?
In the sense that a lot of people, they just sort of, there's no plan when they're eating, you know, especially people who are trying to lose weight or who have to take care because of medical reasons. How can you be more mindful for you and your family, you know, what you eat?
Being mindful, let's say for what I normally like to offer for my clients, I'll tell them when you're doing a diet change, when you're doing it has to be involved at the household level. Don't take it more individualized. If you want to lose weight, look at the people who surround you as well. Because today you might be having kids in the house. So you might refrain the kids from having the whole grains and everything and take them for the junkies. But you might mind a bit grooming them into healthy eaters, because in the near future, if they keep on having the junkies, they might end up having a same challenge that you're facing today. So normally I'd like to say maybe practice the whole diet changing at a household level, because that actually brings up even kids who are more conscious about what they eat. When they go out, they're more conscious. They'll eat, maybe they can have their limits. If it's one ice cream, it's one ice cream in 1 week, not one ice cream very many days of the week. Okay, so when we involve these things, changes of a lifestyle, from the roots of the household, it also helps those people you live with to practice the same thing. Rather than taking it more individualized, it becomes actually a challenge. Seeing at the table, we are eating several varieties and one person has to eat something different. Maybe on the whole house, you're the only one having brown rice. The rest of the house has something like a shallow fried rice. And it's also
very hard to do.
It becomes very hard, and actually it's one of the downfalls or setbacks for most of the people who works out on diet. They'll tell you, okay, I've tried that 1 day, 2 days, but when Dada puts this on the table, I can't refrain myself from eating. Then it becomes a setback.
And I've also realized that you see a lot of obesity runs within families.
Yes.
Because again, this whole idea of, you know, you're eating the same sort of junk food, and you know that it's very difficult for one person to get out of that and say, you know what, I'm going to start eating a healthy diet.
Yeah, speaking of obesity at a family level, that could be one reason, but again, it's something more to do with the genes. So yeah, it depends on the family chronology. Again, if your grandparents had that and you're doing nothing about it, the behavior of eating are not so friendly, it could trigger that. And then yeah, maybe because of the physical inactiveness and the wrong types of food, you're eating very many junk foods and less of healthy foods, taking no attention at your weight, the increase in size as you age and all that can also trigger the obesity.
I want to talk a little bit about the importance of water. You know, this is something people would think it's such a silly question because you know, everybody knows water is so important.
Exactly.
But how can not drinking enough water contribute to weight gain?
Wow, that's something very, it's something very complex, but I'll just touch it on a lighter manner so that it becomes understandable to everyone. We'd say water has a lot of functions in the body, including maintaining the stability of the body, distribution of the nutrients, and keeping the entire body hydrated because of the cells and everything. But speaking of the water intake, when you don't take enough, actually we normally say the required amount of water per day depends on a person's weight and age. So from 6 months infants going onward to adult age, it depends with your weight, and also with respect to the weather conditions. During hot weather, most of people tend to drink more water because we're losing more water during heating. So on the other way around, would say also taking water helps the body being stable with the detoxification, removing of toxins, and circulation as well. But again, the liver, I'd like to speak of the specific function of the liver in this, because I actually read an article on this, and it was it actually brings the meaning why most of the people put on weight if they don't take enough water. Like if you don't take enough water, because the kidney and the liver actually are the detoxification organs of the body. So when you don't take enough water, and the water receptors or water stimulant sensors are in the kidney. So the kidney is the one which filters the amount of water and distributes the amount of water that has been taken in the body and distributed along the body. So if you don't take enough, what happens is the detoxification function of the kidney goes lower, and therefore the only organ which is dependent on detoxification becomes the liver. So the liver again is overworked. So when the liver is overworked, instead of it detoxifying, it keeps on converting more energy and storing it because there's no way of removing it or circulating it. So at the end, you find most of the people who tend to drink less water also have big bellies. So it could be one of the reasons. It's very, very amazing how all this functions, but actually it's because of the impaired in functioning of these two organs. The storage of fat becomes more instead of being removed. And if you go into the minor articles would say of weight loss, they do recommending drinking of water as one of the therapy in losing weight because it helps you carry out some toxins out of the body. Actually, detoxification, because you'll be adding more fluids and taking more toxins outside. So it could be one of the reasons why most people are also, I mean, it's been studied and written that people can also go on fluid diets to lose weight because of that same functioning. But again, if you do take water before meals, it helps you fill up your space in the stomach, so you won't have enough space to eat more. Again, so. And
also I read somewhere a lot of people, they mistake their hunger for thirst. So they will just keep eating. Actually, they're thirsty and they should be drinking water. So that's one of the reasons why they end up gaining weight.
Exactly.
Okay. A lot of people have sugar cravings, you know, especially when we live in this culture of when you eat, you have dessert. How can you control, sugar cravings? I know a lot of people they're just like, no, I can't, it's so hard to control my sugar cravings. I have to have, a little bit of dessert. I have to have ice cream, after my meal.
Yeah, I'd say to be able to control anything that goes into your body or that's particularly about your diet, you just have to acquire the food wisdom, or rather it's a discipline.
Right.
It all begins with the discipline. Yeah.
Right.
If you tell yourself, I won't do this, I have to do this, because you know the effects of it, you'll have to do it and you live to it.
Right.
But I think sometimes people do take things for granted, especially with the sugars. Even though people become conscious and they know sugar is the cause of a lot of complications in the metabolism, they'll still go for it.
Right,
yeah. So it depends with the knowledge and how much they are willing to go for the change. And again, as much as dieting is involved, dieting could be specific at a specific interval. Like if you go on a web searching, browsing, you'll get to see how much our friends in the Western world even have diet specific for summer vacations, they have for weddings and for so on and so forth. But particularly healthy eating or dieting is a lifestyle, rather, I'd say. So if you want to control everything that comes into you in the way of your diet, it's all about discipline. So how do you get the discipline? You start practicing. Nobody was born perfect. You just start by a single step each day. You find yourself increasing into the discipline, and it becomes a habit, it becomes a lifestyle, and it becomes a culture, and you practice it, and it's just like
I think you hit the nail in the head. You know, all these crash diets, all these, you know, it's impossible.
It's impossible.
You're completely right. It's about changing your lifestyle, and it's about changing everything, you know, the pattern of your life. You know, and maybe, you know, people who have sugar cravings, like I love sugar. One of the things you can do is maybe just start reducing slowly, or
reducing. And again, I'd say craving is something more to do with hormones. So again, you might need to watch something, maybe particularly sleeping habits. You might not be a very healthy sleeper. So that's something which, I mean, in my reading, I realized that even when the brain is restless, it triggers a lot of cravings, and people don't know this, but it happens that when people just relate the stress eating comfort with the eating comfort and the stress related, how it comes is because of the hormones as well. So if you do quite a reading of this, you just find out, okay, some people take this as an excuse, like I'm just tense that I just need my sugar to be very comfort in my comfort zone.
It's true, because in university there's a thing called freshman 15. And what happens is they say that when in your first year of university you gain 15 pounds because basically
you're not used to the environment.
You know, or not used to the environment, maybe the stress of being away from home, being around all this food. And it's true, I definitely, when I went to university, I gained a lot of weight because, you know, again, you're not mindful of what you're eating. When you're working, you know, you're studying until late at night, you feel the need to keep munching on something, coffee, all these things add up then, right?
But sometimes also I would say it's more of individualized in the metabolic rate, because when it comes to stress, there are people who put on weight when they're stressed, and there are people who lose weight when they're stressed. So this is a kind of an individual kind of thing, not very particular in this case, but it could be one of the reasons, as we mentioned earlier.
Right. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about children and nutrition and diet with children. A lot of viewers, you know, have kids, and it's very difficult, I think, to, especially when, you know, your kids want something, to sort of control, you know, their behavior. So you know, what are some, you know, snack time in school is like very common, you know, and you see a lot of parents giving their kids crisps and you know, peanut butter and jelly, things like that. What are some healthy snacks that, you know, you can give your kids?
Okay, healthy snacks that are friendly with kids. It could start with fresh prepared foods, or rather fresh prepared snacks. You could prepare anything. Maybe now I'll get into details with a few recipes. Let's say like fruit smoothies. Take maybe a plain yogurt, cut in some fruits in it and blending it. Or sometimes you can just prepare that yogurt with some fruit pieces within it and just serve it for the kid to carry it to school. Shakes, like milkshakes, you can put some dates in the milk, you can put some fruits in the milk, and actually some maybe vegetable rolls, sandwiches. All this can prepare indoor. You can prepare all these types of foods indoor and carry it for the kid. But the fact that As we are in this world today, I think there's this kind of a fancy feeling parents or families have when they shop in the supermarket. Yeah. So we all tend to forget the fresh foods and shop more in the supermarkets, packed foods, which are sometimes preserved due to the preservatives. They're not so friendly either. Sausages, you speak of the packed biscuits for the sugars and everything, but sometimes we could actually prepare things indoor which are more healthy, which have a variety case, like even pancakes can be taken to school for a snack, because you can put maybe a bit of honey in it, because the kids are energetic, they need energy for them to grow, they need energy to keep them active in school because they play a lot. So you can put maybe some honey and the pancakes, because it's a rich food, it has the protein in it, it has carbs in it. You can prepare maybe some, let's say, kebabs also in the indoor, but instead of deep frying, maybe you'd like maybe to grill it. Yeah. And also you can prepare maybe some sandwiches, as I mentioned earlier, either vegetable sandwich, or you can have an egg sandwich, rolls, or egg rolls. All this can be something healthy for the kids, and they can enjoy it even outside.
I think there's two things here. You know, one, you should cook with your kids. Yeah. Because I think that, first of all, that also incorporates them and it gives you time to spend with them. But also then they feel that they're part of it, so then they'll enjoy eating the food. And also nowadays, like you said with the pancakes, when you think of pancakes, you think, oh, unhealthy. But nowadays, there's so many recipes online where you can use, instead of, using certain ingredients, use even healthier ingredients. And
it could be the recipes or the cookware also. There's some cookwares which support a minimum amount of fat usage in preparing. So you could go for either of those.
Right, that's fantastic. How often should parents give their kids junk food?
Okay.
This is actually one of the questions from the viewers.
It's one of the questions which is very tricky, as much as saying why is alcohol or cigarette very harmful to the health, and nobody bans all these industries which produce this food. But as much as we say all these industries exist, and it's a free will, nobody pushes you to go buy this, but it's just all about your discipline, how you refrain yourself from using such kind of food. And after understanding the impact of these foods, it's not like we're gonna make you become like an angel that you'll have to walk away from them. No, we cannot avoid. It's not like you'd say, okay, now Doreen, don't you take sodas, don't you do this, no, I do it, but I'm very careful how often I do it. So it depends again with the family pattern, how frank are you in knowing and practicing the healthy pattern of eating and involving your kids in this, and how you can make them understand. Like the thing comes with kids, it's very tricky. You cannot groom them in a way that they can go outside and not get these things, because they'll hear it from their friends, and the next thing they'll be like, Mama, take me to KFC, take me to McDonald's, take me somewhere. I need, maybe Pizza Hut is open, I need to try the new pizzas they have in town. So it's that kind of thing.
And it's difficult because
it's trendy.
Because also your friends are doing it, and then I know that,
the peer pressure.
And also I know that it's sometimes like when you're taking a lunchbox and your friends get money to go and buy food, and then you're like, I don't want to eat this, I want to be eating something else. So I think it's difficult, but I think parents need to somehow, maybe once a week give their kids a food of their choice, It
could be once a week or twice a month, rather.
Right, or twice a month,
as minimum as possible. That way it grooms also the discipline within the kids, that they can control it from a young age. That they know whenever they need it, they can have it, but it's only once or twice. That particular time.
I want to talk a little bit about food allergies. What are a lot of times, kids will start getting asthma attacks, or they will start getting skin rashes, and parents don't really know what's going on, So what are some of the signs that parents can look for in their children, with regards to food allergies?
Trust me, the biggest allergy that's a challenge to a lot of parents realizing, I think it's the intolerance. especially with milk in infant stage, because
lactose,
of the lactose intolerance. But it's unfortunate, there are some of the intolerances which are very rare, and sometimes they occur in a seasonal case, like gluten intolerance too. It's one of the cases which exist, and some people don't get to know it. But actually the most important tip that I might say a parent needs to watch from infants' age when they start feeding them is observe. Don't introduce a mixture of foods at a go, and observe the changes. Once you've introduced a new food,
give one thing.
You
slowly,
give. Let's say today you're starting with maize meal porridge. Skip it give it like 1 day of a skip. Don't introduce anything else and observe the reactions. But the thing is, when we parents reach at that winning stage, we are confused because somebody says this, Google says this, my doctor says this, my friend did this, my mom did this, my grandma did this. So I want to do everything at a go, and you find yourself in a confused dilemma. You don't know what to start with, and you keep feeding the kid with every single thing that you know, which is very wrong. So you should give it a pace, start at one food interval, give it 1 to 2 days spacing, observe the reactions, and be very careful when you introduce a new food to a kid. And only that way you can observe what are the food allergies. So whenever you see, but again, there's that parental panicking, when they see a skin rash, they just run to the pediatric. But sometimes it could be something minor, it could be something manageable. So without observing, there's always, you cannot be keen, you can lose the key signs that can help you have clues on what is the issue with the kid once they have introduced to a certain type of food. But the intolerance, maybe would say the major signs when it comes to intolerance could be some stomach discomfort. Sometimes it could be a running stomach, it could be vomiting, it could be stomach that feels a bit bulge, or you could feel some noises coming from the tummy. So apart from the outward reactions like the skin rash and all that, but those are the minor symptoms. But again, it's very, very crucial to take note of what food was introduced before observing the signs.
Maybe keep a diary, right?
A food diary is very important, especially even writing food patterns. Like when an infant is at the weaning stage and you're introducing new foods, we really need to do this food patterning, like to avoid the monotony of food, repetition of food. Keep a track of what you gave the kid in maybe a couple of days and try to change it, because kids become very tricky, and that's why most of these are the tricks of feeding kids, because they tend to refuse food, but it's because they're not used. So after observing them, you can actually come up with more ideas of how to improve and how to make it better for them to eat it.
Okay, that's fantastic advice, you know. And like you said, I think that you need to do it slowly, maybe skip a day, you know, and make sure that you're logging everything.
And it's not necessarily it has to be a bowl, a cup, no. We could start at a very small amount. Now the thing here is, again, when it comes to that specific time of weaning, everybody feels like the child has to eat in order to grow, they have to get food. No, it's not necessarily, because the mother is still breastfeeding. You can still breastfeed. You can still keep on eating, keep on breastfeeding, and keep on introducing small amount of food. It doesn't, for the first, let's say from 5 months and a half, 6 months when feeding infants, you have to be very, very careful, because it's not a must for them to eat enough. No, they're not used to eating so much food, so we don't have to rush them to get to a large amount of food. Just start with 2 spoons, 3 spoons, and it's not necessarily it has to be at a par. Give it a spacing. It could be after 2 hours you try 2 spoons, the next 2 hours you try the next 2 spoons. That way it will,
Okay, I want to talk about nutrition in Ramadan, you know. Fasting is actually very good for you if done in the right way, because it's a detox for your body, you know, and you know, it helps to clear your skin sometimes, you know, it's good for you. But can you talk about what are some of the benefits of fasting?
The benefits of fasting, you just mentioned a few, like you said, the detox and the clarity that comes with the skin during the fasting. Also, we'd say it's a relaxing mode of the body system. So basically because when you're not taking any food, the organs, the digestive organs tend to relax because there's no workload, there is no anything coming in to be munched by the enzymes. So again, it's a relaxation season for the body, but you really have to be careful when you're breaking the fast what you're gonna eat, because if you feed yourself so much, again, it's gonna
shock your body.
It's going to it's gonna provoke some maybe bloating. It's gonna provoke some stomach aches because of the whole adjustment that is taking place from the shrinking size of the tummy and when you start feeding your stomach. Again, another benefit of fasting, I'd say, the body normally have a self-healing mode. So even when a person is ill, let's say for example, most of the illness during that time, the appetite gets affected. So even during fasting, it could be retracting the same type of a manner, like because no food is coming in, some of the ailments that exist in the body tend to recover. Because there's enough room for the body to regain to that capability which was being squeezed with food. So it's one of the healing measures, we'd say, or healing therapy. It's a shocking thing that when I was reading about this fasting thing, I just realized even the eczema skin condition can be treated by fasting. So they say if you try to expose yourself to a few days of fasting at the early stages, it could help like a recap to the skin and the body for
because a lot of medical issues are because of food.
It's
because of what we put in our mouth. And I think people don't realize this, you know, and so I think fasting is a good opportunity to sort of, you know, like you said, give your body some rest and also, you know, detox.
For the skin cleansing, again, we say there are quality, some of the fats that are deposited in the body at that particular time, and the dead tissues during fasting, they can definitely go on a removal mode. So the detoxification also happens during that time because there was no room of them to be maybe work on. So during that time, it's another way of cleansing of the body. So
So, you know, in our culture and in our society, when we break our fast, it's all fried food, fatty food, you know, tea with a lot of sugar. These are, you know, and research shows that this is so unhealthy, and in our heads we know this is unhealthy. Everybody knows it, you know. So for people who are so used to this custom and tradition of eating all this vitumbua and mandazi and things like that, what suggestions can you make? You know, small suggestions. I wouldn't want to tell somebody who's so, you know, it's a culture.
Like it's a culture. Said, breaking a culture is very hard.
And
reversing it is even more complicated.
And although in the religion, actually, you know, you're supposed to break your fast very simple. You know, with dates, a little bit of milk, a little bit of water. That is the right way to do it. I think we've swayed a lot away from that, and we tend to eat so much fatty food, so many unhealthy things. What are some small things, you know, that people can do to get onto the right track?
Okay, as you said, we're supposed to break a fast with a very light food. Suggestions also, water could be one of the things to break a fast with. Dates, as you said, milk and milk products, so either fresh milk, yogurt, you can go for it. You can break a fast with a fruit, fresh juices. You can break a fast with soups, liquids like porridge, something that actually it's a soft food. Mashed foods, maybe let's say puddings as well, you can start with it because they're light foods, but again it has to be in a very small amount. And specifically after breaking your fast, you can go as far as feeding yourself in small intervals of 2 hours to keep yourself more energetic and more rejuvenated during that time, because you cannot eat a lot of things at a go. But again, the mode of preparation, as you said, fat is not very friendly for a person who has fasted, because with fat, actually it requires hypermotility of the digestive system. That means a lot of acid will be required to break down the fast, the fat acids that comes from the food. And again, for fat to be digested, you require a lot of energy to be burnt physically. So again, when you look at this, that means during fasting, during the day, you won't have a lot of physical activity. So that means when you're taking so much fat and you're not gonna use it, is again a complication. You're creating conservation of fat, which is unnecessarily. So at times also would say people want to fast to lose weight, but with this type of eating, it triggers the hidden fat, and what actually people lose is the water percentage. So at the end you find you have lost your size, but your kgs might not have moved, or they might move even 1 or 2 kgs only. So it's not very healthy, and it's a kind of bad weight loss pattern, because the moment you revert your normal eating pattern, that body weight comes back very fast.
Right. So if done the right way, you can lose weight and you can get healthy. But if you're doing it
just
wrong,
to put it a little straight, the right way means after breaking your fast, be very, very, very conservative of what you eat,
and
by
mindful
controlling
of what you're eating, right? That's another thing I wanted to go to. You know, I remember growing up, and you have your family tell you, eat, because tomorrow you're not going to be able to get any food. You know, so make sure you're eating. What is your thought process about that? Because in my head, that, you know, and from what I've read, it's wrong. You know, even if you stuff your face, it doesn't mean you're going to be full tomorrow. You know, so what is your thought process?
Okay, when you look at it, go into the research, and what most of the researchers say, even the particular meal you have before the dawn break, how do you call that?
The suhoor,
the suhoor. So when at that particular meal, what is recommended for you to have, you should get mostly high fiber foods, which take longer to digest, and they can keep you more energetic for a longer time. You can take something like fresh fruit, fresh juices, which will keep you hydrated throughout the day, and actually avoid red-made sugars, or that simple sugars like chocolate, sweet, and maybe foods which are added with sugars, stuffed sugars and oils, because they'll make you feel very you'll feel very full, and the food will be wasted. Like you can feel hungry more easily when you have this kind of food, and you might be even uncomfortable for the rest of the day. So in the actual manner, we say to keep yourself more hydrated, you need to take things which are high in fiber, like fruits and vegetables, softly cooked. You can go for the roots and tubers, potatoes also, which are partially cooked. They're properly cooked. You can go for the grains like brown rice. You can go for the spaghettis. You can go for more stews and curries, which are less in fat, because of making the food more in a balanced pattern, and as well as having it at its wholeness.
Okay, and you know, water intake is important, like we've discussed. But during Ramadan, it's very hard to, you know, to get that, you know, that you're consume the amount you're supposed to in a day. So what are some suggestions you have so that, you know, you complete the required amount of water you're supposed to intake?
Okay, so if again you avoid maybe the tasty meals and heavy meals, I think overcoming that, you can overcome it. It can help you overcoming the thirsty, because these foods actually require some amount of water for it to break down. So you can have some fruits and vegetables that will keep you hydrated, and specifically also grapes. They're actually very, very recommended for you to be maybe hydrated throughout the day. And also having enough fiber in your body can prevent constipation during this time, because you're also not taking water. So it actually also, as we said, the whole grain family for the brown foods, the non-refined foods, is actually one of the sources that are recommended at that particular time.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. You know, is there any last, you know, pieces of advice you have for Ramadan now that it's coming up?
Particularly there's something which I normally see going on, and the food for Ramadan would be the dates. So how about we speak of the nutritive value of the dates?
The dates.
Because dates, then they have a great significance in nutrition, and actually it's a very healthy fruit, which is rich in a lot of nutrients and calories. So breaking fast with dates also can help you like stabilize the amount of calories which you are missing throughout the day, and you can actually compensate them by breaking your fast with dates, because they're rich in a significant amount of calories. There are also fruits which are acknowledged to be having a significant amount of vitamin and minerals in it. So the advanced mineral range which are found in in a date. There's potassium, magnesium, which are also highly recommended for pregnant and lactating women. Very, very useful for adding up the amount of flow of milk and preparation of the body for the upcoming baby in pregnant women. And again, would say also there's a adverse amount of vitamin B6 in dates. So to keep your metabolism in a right track, you need the vitamin B complex, which is the B group. So again, with dates, there's a significant amount of it. And also for people who have issues with their blood, dates is a very rich source of iron. So you can have dates to increase your hemoglobin levels. So in case you're fasting and you're thinking of how to get over with all these complications, that's, I think, is a useful tip.
No wonder it's so highly recommended in the religion. You know, I think sometimes, you know, when people, like me included, you know, these things are told to you, you know, that you should have honey, you should have dates, but people don't know why.
Why,
you know?
the significance of it.
You telling us, you know, that the importance of dates and how they're so beneficial, it's excellent.
Yeah, so again, because you won't be taking frequent foods which are rich in fiber, again, also dates is a very good source of fiber in it.
Okay. All right. Well, Doreen, thank you so much for, you know, enlightening us with so much knowledge about nutrition and diet. And
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, you've answered so many of our questions, you know, about how to have a healthy and balanced lifestyle. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much, Fatma. It's a pleasure being here, and it's a pleasure to have shared what I shared. And feel free to have a retract of any questions that you get regarding nutrition and the sessions that you're going to air.
Yes, I will definitely take you up on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.